homeschooling is officially mainstream. A movement that started out as fringe with about 13,000 students in 1973 is now the fastest growing form of education in America. Remember, the purpose of this show is to learn how to use social movement to reverse the negative gains the left has made over the past 60 years. These negative trends include things like the decline in literacy, the decline of marriage, anti-American sentiment, and anti-Christian sentiment. Also remember, the purpose of the social movement is to be a vehicle for social change. K-12 education freedom will only be achieved when we package it inside a social movement. All social movements have 7 critical ingredients. 1, charismatic leadership. 2, powerful messaging. 3, independent funding sources. 4, an infrastructure network. 5, the power of personal testimony. 6, an activist class. And 7, favorable legislation. I would place the homeschoolers under number 6, the activist class. This category will have both the edupreneurs and the homeschool parents. The activist class is critical because they fight to defend any gains the school choice movement makes, and they are invested in expanding territory. For example, Christian edupreneurs will naturally fight to strengthen First Amendment protections for religious instruction. Another example, homeschool parents will naturally support initiatives that remove the tax burden for families that don't have students in government schools. The activist class does so much of the heavy lifting in a social movement that the left is willing to invest in paid protesters. We cannot underestimate the power of the activist class to shift public opinion overnight. This is where the leftist slogan, "Never let a crisis go to waste," is most effective. For example, anytime there's a public health emergency, the activist class should be scheduled to meet with their legislatures to discuss how school choice must be expanded to protect students. Make sense? And just like any marketplace, the goal is to constantly bring in new customers. And thanks to that TV show, Liberal Adventures in Zoom School, COVID policies brought a lot of new customers into the school choice movement. At the same time that homeschooling was expanding, school choice legislation was exploding. 34 states now have a patchwork of school choice options. Here's a quick review of the numbers. According to NARI, the National Home Education Research Institute, in 2019, there were 2.5 million homeschool students. By 2021, there were 3.1 million. But most telling is the fact that 41% of new homeschool students are Black, Asian, or Hispanic. And that's evidence that the movement is mutating. We're erasing the stereotypes that school choice only benefits white suburban families. We're smashing the myth that homeschooling is relegated to white evangelical stay-at-home moms. And today, I'm chatting with someone that's a Black homeschooling pioneer. In fact, it worked so well for her family that she felt compelled to write a book to help others follow in her footsteps. Let's get into it. Okay, guys, today I'm sitting down with a good friend, Rhonda McAfee. Rhonda is a member of the Homeschool Pioneer Club and definitely qualifies as a solid member of the school choice activist class. She's also an author of an amazing book called Homeschooling Worked For Us. You are your child's solution. What's up, girl? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Lisa, girl. How long you been doing this? And you just now inviting me. What is up?
I just started like 2 months ago. 2 months ago. You know you're on my list.
Thank you, you know, Lisa. I'm so glad to be here.
Rhonda helped me understand that I had so many myths when it came to homeschooling. And literally the Lord put me, you, and a couple of other people together because I never met any Black homeschooling families. I didn't know it was something that we were doing.
Oh, my goodness.
And I'm like, you know what? This is the wave of the future.
Yes,
This is the wave of the
Lisa, when I started homeschooling, there weren't very many Black homeschoolers. But we did it anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I am so glad that I was able to help you and to just share with you just my life.
Yeah, I had no idea. I hadn't seen Rhonda since elementary school. And then we were both at a homeschool conference. I mean, not a homeschool conference, a school choice conference that I was putting on. And she has a booth and she's pitching her book. And I'm like, wait a minute, you wrote a book on homeschooling and you actually did this and you actually survived it and you actually thrived and your kids are actually doing great. So
yes, I had to get it in writing. It was such a phenomenal experience. The fact that God chose us to go down the path of homeschooling, I needed to share it. I need for other people to read our story.
Okay. I need you to tell your story. Like, give us a really strong synopsis of how you came to do the homeschooling, what it was like, and, what it's been like on the other side.
Okay, small synopsis. Here we go, right? So I was not happy with the district that we were in, where my family, we lived, my husband, and at the time we had 2 girls. And when it was time for my oldest to go to kindergarten, I was subbing also in that same district. And you see more when you're on the inside. And I knew, and I would tell my husband that, it's no way she's going to be able to go to this school, any of the schools in the district, because I subbed at almost all of them, right? So by the time it was time for her to go to kindergarten age, we moved to another district where we thought, okay, these are better schools, but the Lord began to tug at our hearts about morality. And it's not about academics only, morality. And he began to put homeschoolers in our path. Just seemed like everywhere I went, and this is in 1995, I ran into a homeschooler at the doctor's office, at the store, all of a sudden at the church we were going to, because it was a rather large church. And then we met a couple that was homeschooling, they were Black. And it really, I believe the Lord had to stage that couple there, because I would have thought the same thing. We don't homeschool. Black people, that's not a thing that we do. Our ancestors fought for us to be able to go to school, integrate, and go to school with other races, right? So that was the thing God gave us, that Black family that was homeschooling their children. And man, their children were like out of this world. Their behavior was like, kids don't act that way. What are you doing for your children to act that way? It's what I asked her after talking with her Sunday after Sunday for about 3 weeks. Like, your kids are not yanking on you, pulling on you, running all around, like my girls may have been doing, right? And she got my attention. And I said, how do you get your kids to be so well behaved? She said, I homeschool.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, homeschool. I wasn't interested.
Another one of my a Black homeschooler that I know right now, her husband brought the idea to her, and she said, "Is that legal?"
Yeah.
She didn't even know this was legal.
Yes. Because I had never met a homeschooling family before God began to position homeschool families in my path. But we couldn't get around it. My husband couldn't get around it, nor could I. God was wooing our hearts. And it took just finally saying, yes, Lord, I trust you. I believe you're calling us to do this. So that's how we kind of started.
Well, I've talked to you for hours and hours on this subject, and you zeroed in multiple times on this specific fear that you had, that the Lord had to come and specifically address that fear for you. And
Yes.
What was that fear?
What about sports, God? What about college? In our minds, how can we teach our kids at home and they be prepared for the world or the things, and how are they going to be exposed to these things? God, what about, all of those things? And I remember that, that line of questioning. Yes, God, I know you're calling us to do this, but what about this? And what about that? And God said to me, these simple words, they won't miss a beat. And hindsight, Lisa, not only did they not miss a beat, but they got some extra beats in there, right? My kids have been exposed to so many wonderful things throughout the homeschool journey. So, yeah.
You guys, if you're driving right now and not seeing, us in this conversation, I have her book in front of me. Again, it's Homeschooling Worked For Us. You are your child's solution. And in the book, she specifically outlines the confirmation that the Lord gave her that her kids were not going to miss a beat, and she details every activity, all of the extra experiences that they were able to have because she homeschooled. It wasn't that they were missing out on anything. They got extra experiences in life that they wouldn't have had. Okay, so you told us, why you homeschooled, how you came through it, but why did you have to write a book about it?
I wanted to share it. And honestly, the Lord had put it on our hearts, my husband's heart and my heart, that we would write a book. But that was kind of far-fetched, just like, you will homeschool, right? But I didn't know when. You know how you can know and God's called you to do something, but you just you're waiting? I didn't know when. It wasn't until my last child graduated from college.
Okay.
When God, I have 3 children. I have 2 girls, and then my son is the youngest. When he graduated college is when God said, it's time. It's time to write the book.
Okay. So I always go and, look at someone's book before I'm going to talk to them. And then I, take into reading some of the reviews. So I get so encouraged when I read the reviews for parents who are homeschoolers and they've written a book. So your reviews were so grateful. Gratitude was what was coming through the reviews. Like you made some of the mistakes and some of the errors so they can follow behind you and you learned all the lessons that they don't have to learn. So I'm loving that for you. So one of the things that I do on this show is a segment called School Choice in the News. And what I want to do is highlight something in the culture relevant to, in this case, Black homeschooling. So I'm going to show you this clip, and then I want to get some feedback from you on what these moms have to say.
Okay.
7-year-old Tyler Thomas and his 11-year-old sister Zoe are just like most other children in America because they're running late for school this morning.
Excuse me.
Their mother, Doella, needs coffee. The kids need breakfast.
Just drink it real fast.
And it's time for them to go.
Time to start school. Let's go, Ty.
But they don't have to go very far.
Okay, I need this down, because today we're going to start with language arts first.
Homeroom is in a room upstairs at home in the suburbs of Birmingham, Alabama.
Contractions. Remember we worked on contraction last week?
And since the pandemic, more than 1 million other American families have joined the Thomases, who've decided to pull their kids out of public and private schools and teach their children themselves. In the school year that started in the fall of 2019, there were about 2.5 million homeschool students in America. By the next school year, deep into the public health crisis, it was 3.7 million children. For the school year that's starting now, an estimated 5 million American children are getting their basic education at home. Something's clearly happening.
I really believe it's growing because people are seeing the difference. One of my reasons, though, of homeschooling is because you're at school all day, and then we got to come home and do homework. And you've already been at school all day, and then your child is exhausted. What part of speech have we talked about last week? And being at home, I can get school done in 3 to 4 hours versus doing 7 hours in a building, and then I can teach my children where they are. I'm talking about learning styles. We can play our song, and it's super easy and super quick. When you look at the school system, there's a traditional way of learning. Everybody is learning the same way, but are we the same?
No.
We're different. My brain process is different from where your brain process is. I am accountable to Zoe and Tyler. They were the gifts I was blessed with. So I want to do everything I can as their mother, along with their father, to give them what they need and not what the system is saying they need. S.E., very good.
Okay, Rhonda. The reason I selected that clip is the mom in the video. She spoke about one of the myths that I had. You know, I had all of them. But one of them, I literally thought homeschooling took 8 hours, just like regular school. And so when she said one of her motivations for homeschooling was that she didn't understand why she has to send her kids to school for 7 hours a day and then come home and do hours of homework. And then you and a number of other homeschooling parents that I met explained to me that homeschooling only takes 3 or 4 hours a day. And I think if that would be a major motivator for me if I was a mom, that you can get this done in half the time.
Yes, you can get it done in half the time. You got to think about when you have so many children in school, in the public school, private schools, right? And just that crowd control, the time they're walking through the halls, and just everything that they're having to do because they're teaching so many students. You just have your students, your children.
Okay.
And so you're just teaching the subjects and you're given the time. Like, for instance, my kids, when I taught math, we taught math for an hour. That was it. We didn't do math later that evening or homework. We taught the lesson, and then they worked on their problems right there within that hour. Right. So you do the subjects like that, and some subjects like history and science, you may need only a couple of days a week just to do those two subjects, you know. So you boil it down to just about 3 to 4 hours that you're spending, and you use, and it's one-on-one individualized teaching. So then you spend that other time doing the things that that your children just love doing.
Well, no wonder they're happier.
They are happier.
They are happier. They don't have to sit still for 8 hours a day in the old model. So you guys, I'm really encouraging people to start homeschooling. And I like to always say this note because, when I saw these statistics that Black families are now the fastest growing segment of the homeschool community. So when you started, you said, we don't do that.
Right.
And now it's, oh, no, we're doing it the fastest than anybody.
But I will tell you this, Lisa, the whole time I was homeschooling, once I was enlightened by it and was like, man, this is, I used to think if I had the money for private school, I would have done that until I started homeschooling. It was the best thing for our family. But I used to, think in my mind, if more African Americans would do this, when you look at the complaints and the problems that are based off of the video we just watched.
Right. If
more would do it, so years later, and it's happening. It's happening.
You're a pioneer. You're a visionary. I certainly didn't see it. So let me do a review. You're married. You had 2 children. You end up having a third. The Lord is telling you that you're going to do this new thing where you're going to be homeschooling. You're obedient. You do it. You get your children all the way through college. Then you write a book. You would think Rhonda's done. Rhonda's done what she was supposed to do. But that's not what happened.
No, I thought I was done.
That's not what happened. Rhonda gets another calling. Okay, Rhonda, tell us what you're working on now.
I tell you, you're right when you said a calling. Because I did. I thought my mission was complete with my children. But God, He always gives us an abundance. There's always that abundance. It's greater than what you could ever think, So right now, what I do, and I know God called me to this, is I help parents who are looking for alternative education connect with homeschooling and be able to start their homeschool, stabilize and sustain their homeschool. And I target working and busy parents.
Right.
That's my target.
The thing that you don't think you can combine. Right. So you started something very specific. So can you tell us, specifically, what is this program?
This program allows parents who are working, who are busy, mom, dad, busy working, to be able to homeschool, because we provide a learning center. We call it a hybrid learning center during the daytime for the parents to drop their children off before they go to work. And we teach math and reading to lighten their homeschool load. And we do extracurricular activities, PE, arts, science experiments. And the moms and the dads, they teach the other subjects, the language arts part of it, which is the writing and the grammar part, and the social studies and science at home. We help our parents locate the right curriculum for their child, to know their child's learning style, their teaching style, and it's working, that we are able to help more parents who thought homeschooling is not possible because I work every day.
Exactly.
How can I homeschool and I'm not home? We give them that safe place.
So I didn't see that coming. I started having conversations with you after we reconnected at that summit, and I had already imagined this new buffet of education opportunities, but I didn't see that there would be tools for parents who are having to work, or maybe they're single moms. I thought they may have to stay in the government schools. But now, basically, Rhonda's saying no excuses, people. If you are having to work, you now have a resource. So I need to get the name of this learning center, tell us where it is, in case anybody wants to get in contact with you.
The name of the learning center, is called HEN. HEN stands for Homeschooler Education Network. HEN Hybrid Learning Center is in Olathe, Kansas, 14841 Black Bob Road. We use the church. Church of the Harvest is where we have our center Monday through Friday. And our website is www.hen4parents.org.
HEN4, that's the number 4.
No, spelled out, F-O-R.
HEN4parents.org.
Yes.
Okay.
And my phone number for HEN is 913-735-3537.
Okay, so there's really no excuses now. So
No.
I'm really hard on people about making a pivot from this current model.
If you need an alternative, if that's what you're looking for, you are your child's solution. We help parents to be the best they can be for their child.
Okay. All right. So I want to continue to talk to this sort of avatar mom that's always in my head. And I get pushback from her, so I wrestle with her. So now she can't even tell me, oh, I'm a single mother. They were getting me with that one, Rhonda. So now they can't get me with that one. So I want you to talk to her. In hindsight, after you've been through everything you've been through, would you have about 3 things that you would tell a mom who's on the fence about homeschooling?
Yes. Number 1, if I did it, you can do it. And number 2, there's support there for you. You can do this. And number 3, you get one chance to raise your children and to do the best you can do. There's no do-overs.
There's no do-overs, exactly. Moms, dads, your children are only going to get one time to do 4th grade. They're not going to get to do it all over again. We are like in this pioneer spirit right now as far as K through 12 education. I feel like we're starting all over again, and all these new models are coming online, and I'm loving it.
It's good. It's awesome.
Okay, guys. You guys have heard from Rhonda. You know, I'm constantly talking about this movement and what it takes to build a movement. I review the 7 ingredients of a social movement all the time. Rhonda represents the activist class. We have the edupreneurs, and we have the homeschool community. Combined, these people are going to be the activists. They're going to do the heavy lifting for the movement. And if you guys want to reach out to Rhonda, I'm going to get this phone number one more time.
913-735-3537.
Okay, great. So you guys, this has been School's Out. Thanks for joining me this week. We're going to be posting new content every week.